special belonging. So at this point, Chairman, over to you to officially open this webinar, and we can have the sessions with Rehab and Anne. Karibu.
Okay. Thank you very much, Madam Irene Kimashia. You're always very good in organizing this. And I want to start by, first of all, thanking LVCT for this session, specifically Anne, Rahab, and the rest of the team. And to all our participants today, good afternoon. I'm very excited that you are able to join this session. And as usual, greetings from the Council of the Institute of Human Resource Management. And I also want to pass my apologies from the Executive Director. Most of you have not met her face to face. She's just turning probably 2 months old now in the Institute and already hitting the road running. I know as we talk, she's on the road actually running with some other engagements, but I think probably she'll join us along the way. I don't want to take a lot of time, but go straight to the topic, which is so close to my heart. And as most of you know, where my day job is, which is the National Police Service Commission, I was checking if everybody is listening, because we as a society, as Kenyans, just the other day you saw, the day before yesterday, the report that came out of the highest suicide numbers ever recorded in the country. Where I work, it's even worse in the National Police Service because of the various issues that we are going to be enlightened on. And therefore, I'll pay keen attention to this program, just like everybody else. And thanking you very much for agreeing to facilitate for us, and thanking you members for getting in, especially on time. So without much ado, I would want to declare this officially open. And welcome Rahab, Anne, I don't know who's gonna start first, to just go straight and take us through this mental health awareness. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. And pass our regards to members in Nakuru County. So Anne,
we're meeting them this afternoon.
Yes, thank you. Rehab or Anne?
A very good afternoon to everyone.
Good afternoon.
Irene, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can, but your network is a bit weak.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my name is Evangeline Mukami. We spoke, sorry about the ID earlier, but I have changed it. So it's a very warm welcome from LVCT Health. And we have workplace wellness solutions. And this afternoon, we would like to tackle one of our dearest topic, that is mental health and well-being. As the chairman has spoken to us, mental health is unavoidable at this time. And personally, even as we interact and as we were planning for these engagements, I kept on asking my colleagues, when I have a sick child, I go to the HR. If I have to be admitted, I go to the HR. If in our institution, we are many. So I can imagine what our HR goes through every day. If I have display. Sorry, I don't know what happened, but Anne, can you hear me? Hello?
I can hear you.
This afternoon, as we engage, we are here to encourage the people who take care of others as the human resource persons, the people who are always there to hire and fire, the people who have to come in between and make decisions, at times very tough decisions. We are here just to let you know that you cannot pour from an empty cup. You need to keep on refilling your cup. If you feel overwhelmed, you can get support. Help is available. And if you're not able to support even your staff, we are here and available to be able to come in between so that we can also ensure that your other work goes on smoothly. So without further ado, we welcome you today, and we are telling you that it is okay not to be okay. It is okay not to be okay, and there is support available. And we will be telling you how to be able to know that you're not okay, and how to be able to seek support when you feel that you're not okay. So I pass this over to Anne to be able to take us through the session with Rahab. Thank you, and a very warm welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to be sure I can be heard.
Good afternoon, Rahab.
This is Anne Munyao. Sorry, we got the same joining name.
All right, welcome, Anne.
Thank you so much. So we are starting off. I'll share the screen. The first person to go will be Rahab, then I'll pick up after her. But on screen one, there will be a Mentimeter just to find out where we all are. So my colleague Michelle Oluoch will do something about that. So let me share the screen.
So once again, good afternoon. My name is Rahab. I know it was duplicated, but this is the real me now. And I'm glad to be here to support. So our topic today is mental health and well-being. You hear the word mental health, what comes into your mind? We'll come to that in a short while. I hope everyone can be able to hear me. So I'll start with an activity. And the activity is the question that I was asking. What comes into your mind when you hear the words mental health? You can be able to share and interact with the Mentimeter and be able to ask questions as we proceed. Michelle, kindly say something about the Mentimeter.
Michelle, are you there? As we wait for Michelle, let's proceed. It's not moving.
Okay, I'll start with maybe defining mental health according to the World Health Organization. And World Health Organization, that is WHO, as well known by everyone, The definition of health is the best known definition available. It was actually in 1946 when they said health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. This definition recognizes the mental.
Rehab, this is Irene.
Yes.
We have an echo coming from your end, so kindly check. Maybe
Okay.
someone who is also logged in is near you. So that is, yeah, we can hear an echo repeating exactly what you're saying.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, it's much better now.
Oh, okay, fine.
All right.
So I was saying this definition recognizes the mental, physical, and social dimension of. Sorry, someone keeps muting me. It's me you're muting. Sorry, because my name is duplicated. Yeah, the others have muted. The definition recognizes the mental, physical, and social dimension of health. It also recognizes that health does not just refer to the absence of disease or illness, but that health is a more positive state that involves well-being. We keep saying wellness, and we really like think through what it means when even when we have wellness at work. Most of the time, we really don't think through the meaning of that. In relation to mental health, WHO provides the following definition. They say that mental health can be understood to be the state of well-being in which the individual realizes his or her own abilities, can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to make a contribution to his or her community. That is the definition of what mental health is. So I'm sure as a HR professionals, you've interacted with mental health issues a lot, considering that everyone comes to maybe complain or even bring in or launch a situation that they are going through, or maybe people are put on, the people who have not met their targets are actually brought to you to come up with a solution. And sometimes you don't even know how to remain human or how to even support and not get affected, because this is someone's mother, this is someone's sister, this is a human being presented before you. So mental health problems compared to mental illness are fairly common and are often experienced during periods of high stress and following upsetting events. So statistics show that 1 in every Kenyan will suffer from mental ill health in their lifetime. So if we are seated, four of us in a room, one of us has suffered from mental ill health in their lifetime. And sorry, my screen keeps getting stuck. So I'll proceed even before the next slide comes on board. Find a way of doing that. So technically, what usually happens is when you start thinking of something, you feed your feelings, and then it informs your behavior. For instance, let me give an example. If I'm starting to feel like everything is not working well at work, and I'm not being seen as productive, or there's harassment going on, I start feeling something like it's not fair, why does it have to happen to me? And then eventually I'll start feeling like I don't even need to go there, or I go to work and I start reacting differently to people. And your thoughts inform your feelings, and your feelings will influence your behavior. So this is actually what how I can break mental wellness to be, because if you're able to know, or if you're aware of your thoughts, you're able to even inform your feelings to be of a certain way. But sometimes we cannot control that. Like, let's say, for example, if I had some sad news, definitely the thought will be that this is so unfair, it didn't have to happen, and then I'll be very, very sad. And I won't even feel like going to work or responding to anything. So my mental health or my mental well-being will be not what we call normal. And there was a quote once that said, the heaviest burdens that we carry are the thoughts in our head. I don't know, maybe wherever you are in the country, what you're thinking when you see this man trying to carry the load on his head. You can be able to share on the chat box, be able or ask a question, or you can be able to even say what is going through your mind as we continue. So I want to state some categories of mental health disorders. I'll just mention a few. There are very many. And when it comes to mood disorders, I'm sure you've all heard people use these terms as maniac, hypomaniac episodes, depressive episodes, or mixed episodes. Those are known as mood disorders. Then we get to anxiety disorders. These are some of the mental illnesses or mental challenges that people might have. Then we get to anxiety disorders. We have PTSD. This is known to be in the army, or anyone who's been in a war-torn area, or anyone who's experienced something like we experienced in Dusit or Westgate, or where else, where there was a terror attack. They're likely to experience PTSD. Then we have general anxiety disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder. I hear a lot of people keep saying, I have OCD. So, and this is one of those mental illnesses that people actually think is a good thing. Like when you're trying to organize something on the table and someone will just say, oh, I'm dealing with my OCD, or this or that, about OCD. And then we have personality disorders. This is antisocial personality disorder. That is one of them. And then there's borderline personality disorder. There are actually many, but I just want to highlight on a few. Then we have psychotic disorders. We have people having delusions, hallucination, and schizophrenia. These are some of the few. Then we have substance-induced disorders. We have withdrawal syndrome. This is actually experienced when someone is trying to detox from alcohol, and the withdrawal syndrome takes over, and they're not even able to focus on anything, or they're actually even in a sick state. Then we have delirium and psychosis. So I cannot mention every mental illness, but I am just focusing on a few so that at least you have, I bring to your attention that these are some of the things that people that you're dealing with or might be going through. So how do we recognize anxiety at the workplace? I would like, first of all, to maybe explain how or what anxiety feels like. Excessive anxiety and worry, apprehensive expectations, that is difficult to control the worry. You even don't know what to do because you really would want to be in control, but you're out of control. And there's restlessness. There's feeling keyed up, feeling on edge, being easily fatigued because you're likely to be processing a lot in a few minutes. So your brain is not able to rest. And there's this difficulty in concentrating or mind going blank. You like people zone out. Then irritability, there's muscle tension. Some people feel like over their shoulders, there's a problem and they're not able, it's like you're carrying a very big load. Then there's sleep disturbances. One is not able to sleep well, like for 8 hours, or you can't even do maybe even 3 hours straight. So physical manifestation include, but not limited to, palpitation, accelerated heart rate. Sometimes you will feel like your heart rate is so fast and it's like you're almost going into a panic attack, or some people even think it's a heart attack. And there's sweating, trembling, or shaking. I'm sure you've seen people who are shaking and you don't really know how to even help them, because it's like they are getting what I would call like an epileptic attack, but it's just an anxiety attack. Then some people complain of difficulty in breathing, a feeling of choking, chest pains or discomfort. Some people have nausea and other abdominal stress. Then how can this manifest in a coworker, or how would it look to coworkers and managers? Like you have inability to prioritize. This is now someone observing, someone who's having anxiety issues from a distance. You think that this person is not able to prioritize, they're unsure of ability or lack of confidence. You think that staying stuck in one task is their problem or their weakness. You feel like we've accused people of being irritable. We've said that people look scattered and absent-minded, and yet these are the situations they are dealing with them. And you've heard, of course, this comment that you look drained, or you find it difficult to talk to someone. This person might find it difficult to talk to someone, and sometimes they even self-isolate. There's difficult working with colleagues, especially where you're needed to work as a team. So this person who has this anxiety will find it very, very difficult to work in a team. I'll move on to the next slide. And now let me move from anxiety to depression. So how does depression in the workplace look like? Let's first look at how it feels like, and then now translate to how other people or you as an observer would see it as. So when you're depressed at work, you have deep feelings of sadness. You have loss of interest in work or social activities. There's difficulty concentrating and slowed thoughts. There's forgetfulness and trouble remembering. There's trouble making decisions and trouble sleeping or sleeping too much. Sorry, let me just stop my video and see whether it will be a bit clear. Sorry, I understand that the slides are not visible. Allow me to just work on that and then get back to the presentation.
Hi, Irene.
Hello? Yes?
Who is not able to see the screen? Is it everyone, or is there settings from their machines?
It seems we have a mix, because my screen is full. My colleague Dan says his screen is full, but then we have so many comments where people are saying they cannot see the slides. So, and there have been a comment that we are viewing Anne Munyao's screen. So can it be Rehab who has shared? So we need someone who has some technical know-how on your end to reshare, because everybody, if you look at the chat, it's already over 21 people who are not seeing the screen.
Actually, it's Anne Munyao who's sharing the presentation. I was just talking through the slides.
So can members tell us if it's visible now? Some people are saying it's visible, others can't. So it seems we have a mix of some say it's okay on my side, others say not yet. It's clearly visible. So Michelle, you are guiding on where the stop spotlighting is. So can you assist us? Right now we are viewing the full screen. So can members tell us whether that's okay?
I think they're saying it's fine now. The video was interfering with the settings.
Oh,
Right.
okay, fine.
I think we can now
Okay.
proceed.
Thank
You may
you.
want to take it back
Okay,
a
thank
little
you.
bit, Rahab, because most of the people were a bit distracted with the slides. So see where to pick it up
Okay.
from.
Okay, fine.
All right.
Thank you, Irene, and sorry for that.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I have just concluded on the anxiety in the workplace. Can I start on the next topic, that is depression and how it looks at work? I hope everyone it's okay. I hope everyone is on the same page.
No,
So
please.
I'll move to depression.
No. They say no. Let's do the slide that was last, where you had the not feeling well, someone sleeping. Everybody seemed to be on the same page.
Okay.
So I think pick it up from here. Pick it up from the moods.
So the mood.
The next slide. No. Forward. Next. There. Pick it up from there. Yes.
Okay, fine. All right. So here I was talking about categories of mental health. Please note that these are not all. I'm just picking on a few. And when we talk of mood disorders, we have like maniac or hypermaniac episodes. We have depressive episodes and mixed episodes. Those are some of the mood disorders in that category. Then anxiety disorders, here I have PTSD, that is post-traumatic stress disorders. And as I mentioned earlier, this is experienced mostly by people who are in war-torn countries, or people who've been through maybe terror attacks, or people in the army or the police, because of their day-to-day work involves a lot of trauma. So if you're not able to process the trauma well, you're likely to get into PTSD. We've actually seen this in a lot of movies, especially the American Army and their experiences in Vietnam. And they've created a lot of movies highlighting on PTSD and how it affects someone when they come back home. So generally, this is a topic that is maybe people have a bit of information about, but they don't know how it can manifest at now the local workplace. They maybe even think that maybe because we've not been to war, maybe you're not a soldier, you're not likely to get this. But people do experience this after trauma. So and then we have general anxiety disorder and obsessive compulsive disorder. And this is one of my favorites, because people say I'm dealing with my OCD when you're trying to arrange things in the office, or you're complaining about how someone is disorganized, and you think that OCD is a good thing. So at that point, you have to understand that obsessive compulsive disorder is actually a mental illness. And then we have personality disorders. One of them is antisocial personality disorder, and another one is borderline personality disorder. There are many. I've just highlighted on the two. Then we have psychotic disorders. That is delusion. We have hallucination. We have schizophrenia. Let me say a bit with schizophrenia, because most of the time we say so-and-so is crazy, this person is mad. And most of the time what we have in mind, or what we're trying to maybe even say is that there's schizophrenia, but most of the time there are many other mental illnesses, but this is one of those that we can see that we don't really understand much about, because when you just say someone is crazy, you might be thinking that they have schizophrenia and maybe they're just having a mood disorder. Then we have substance-induced disorders, that is withdrawal syndrome. And on this, I said, most of the time it's witnessed when someone is trying to detox from alcohol, and they are not able to do that without the help of a physician, because they need to destabilize the chemicals within the body. So the withdrawal syndrome happens. And it can actually even kill, because someone is really not able to control how they are able to even, hello, I hope I'm clear, how they're able to control the situation. They just need medical attention to be able to be helped through this. Then there's the delirium, and there's psychosis. And most of the time, they happen when there's substance-induced, when someone has used or abused alcohol or any other substance. These are likely to play out. And here now, I want us to maybe have a bit of information about anxiety and how it may play out at the workplace. First of all, I want to break it down into two: how anxiety feels like, and then how it might look like when someone is going through it and you're just an observer, or you're just trying to support them. Okay, how does anxiety feel like? There's excessive anxiety and worry, that is apprehensive expectation of something. Then there's difficult to control the worry. There's restlessness. There's feeling keyed up, or you're feeling on edge. One is easily fatigued. There's difficult concentrating. You can't complete a task, or mind going blank most of the time. There's irritability, muscle tension. And here I mentioned sometimes you feel like over your shoulders, it's a bit stiff and you're not able to like put down a load, like you're carrying a burden and it's over your shoulders. And there's a lot of muscle tension. There's a bit of sleep disturbance, or you're not even able to sleep at all at night. Note that physical manifestation, including but not limited to palpitation, accelerated heart rate, sweating, trembling, or shaking. There's dry mouth, difficult breathing, and sometimes some people even think they're having a heart attack when they're having an anxiety attack. So there's feeling of choking, chest pains, or discomfort. Some people get nausea or abdominal distress. That is how anxiety feels like when you're going through it. Okay, now, how it looks to a co-worker or a manager. So one might think that this particular person having the anxiety attack is having inability to prioritize. We've heard of situation where one is told you can't complete one task, or you're handling too many tasks and you're not able to complete any. Then the coworker might feel like this particular person is unsure of their ability, or they lack confidence. Then they are accused of staying stuck on one task. Then, or even they are accused of being irritable, or they seem scattered or absent-minded. And most of the time you've heard of this statement, you look drained. So this is what a coworker is seeing when you're having an anxiety attack. Then you find this person is difficult to talk to, or to talk to other people. So they self-isolate. And then there's difficulty working with colleagues and clients, or working in a team. So I would like to conclude on anxiety and move on to depression. But in case you have a question, please engage us. There are some people just following up on the chat, and they are able to help out in case there is a comment, or just let me know if I need to maybe focus on a particular slide. So recognizing depression in the workplace. So let's see what depression feels like. So if you're depressed, you might be having deep feelings of sadness. There's loss of interest in work and social activities. Like, for example, if a colleague is having a wedding or a baby shower, you feel like you don't want to take part in that. Or there's an end of year party, you don't feel like you even want to get out of bed to do such an activity. And most people are seeing like it's a fun activity, so if nobody misses such. But you yourself, you feel like, I don't want to attend that. I don't want crowds. I don't want to be in a situation or I'll interact with people. Then there's difficulty concentrating or slowed thoughts, forgetfulness, and trouble remembering. Sometimes people even look for their car key when they are holding it, or their phone, and you're just holding the phone, or you're calling someone to ask, have you seen my phone? And you're actually using the phone to ask the other person whether they've seen your phone. Then there's trouble making decisions. You can't make a decision that you really need to make in a few seconds, and people can't understand how you can't make a decision that fast. Then trouble sleeping or sleeping too much. Sometimes most people say that they can't sleep when they're depressive. But then again, sleeping too much, you can't even get out of bed, is also a sign of depression. And then feeling of worthlessness, or you're inappropriate, like you look at yourself and say, did I dress right? Have I overdressed? You just don't like how you look. Then thinking negatively about situations and things. I'm sure you've encountered people who are always negative, but now when you're depressive, everything is negative, everything is bad. There's nothing positive to look forward to. Then there's suicidal ideation. And people can even get to a point where someone might even say, oh, I like your laptop. And you're like, oh, you like this one, take it, have it. Because you feel like there's nothing that is, you're just giving up on everything. And at that point, maybe now you're starting to think of how you can end it. And by ending it, I mean how you can end that life. That is now where we say as professionals that you are having suicidal ideation. And how does it look to a coworker? We've looked at now the depressive person, but how is it translated to someone who's just observing? Your colleague, your family member, or a friend, or one of your support systems. It looks like someone is withdrawn from team, or they like isolating. Someone might be accused of being indifferent, or they like putting things off. They like missing deadlines, or they keep, they seem scattered or absent-minded. And something people like accusing depressive people, they like procrastinating. They're indecisive. They are slow in productivity. And most of the time, we don't know what they are going through because they also don't want to share about it. But this is what we see now. And they like coming to work late. And they have afternoon fatigue, or they are involved in many accidents. They are unsure of their abilities, or they lack confidence. This is what we see as co-workers, as managers. Maybe you're having a team member who you feel has all these. So these are things we need to look out for. When you keep accusing someone of loss of interest, it might be that they're in a state of depressiveness. I'll now move on to another of my favorite themes, that is burnout at the workplace. And the same, I'll break it down to how it feels and what co-workers see. So when you burnt out, there's emotional signs and symptoms of burnout, like sense of failure, self-doubt. Sometimes you feel helpless or trapped, like you think that you're trapped in your current position and there's no way out and you feel defeated. There's detachment, there is feeling alone in the world, there's loss of motivation, there's increasingly cynicism or negative outlook. Then there's decreased satisfaction and sense of accomplishment. All these are signs of burnout. And this is how it manifests in someone. And I'm looking at that picture there. I hope it's clear to everyone where that guy is in front of the computer and doesn't even know where to start. And maybe he just came in and he's thinking this is too much work. He's not even motivated to start the day. Then to a coworker, this is how it looks. Someone might be accused of being angry all the time and having outbursts and tantrums, and or being indifferent, or putting things off, or missing deadlines all the time. This person does not keep deadlines, so we used to him, you know. And laziness, loss of interest, someone being accused of not being a team player, or being preoccupied. This one is always complaining. This one has self-neglected. Or they might see low energy in someone and a lot of negative talk. So there's a quote here that depression isn't always suicide. Notes and pills and bottles. It's also spending all day in bed. We've been talking about this as we were talking about depression. Sometimes it's not just lack of sleep. It's also too much sleep. You just want to be in bed. Some people don't even want to go to the washroom. They just want to sleep. And there's this other one, that cracking jokes or being the class clown. I want to pay a bit attention to this particular one because, you know, some people hide behind humor. And there's this person who's always funny, always cracking jokes. Sometimes we see that as a coping mechanism. Sometimes they are hiding behind the jokes. Then there's being emotional distance. You don't want to attach to anyone. You don't want to be seen or to be vulnerable. Then there's faking a smile. I think social media has taught us to be very good at this. So, but also it's also a sign of depression. There's overeating or not eating at all. There's skipping work to sleep, not showering for days at a time, then social isolation. And at this point, I would like you to always check on your friends, on your colleagues, even the funny ones, but they pay attention to those ones because they hide it the best. And with this, I would like to share the example of Mrs. Doubtfire, the comedian, who's one of those people who are very, very funny, but he ended up in a suicide. And I was among those people who are actually asking, why would such a funny person, a successful actor, do that, you know? But remember, people hide behind the jokes, they hide behind the funny or goofiness, because they don't want you to see how depressed they are. So I would like to end that section with that. In case you have a question, kindly reach out. We'll be able to respond. And then as I sip my glass of water, my colleague Anne will take us to the next phase. Thank you very much.
Michelle, was something to report in the Mentimeter? Was there something there?
Anne and Rahab, I hope we are on track.
Yes, we are. Okay,
Okay,
let me proceed.
We're getting questions about whether you will share the slides. Maybe you could respond to that as we proceed. And also we have some Q&As. So if Evangeline and Anne, someone could be responding to the Q&As even as we continue, so that Rahab can or highlight them later as we proceed. Thank you.
Okay, fine. Okay, we'll be responding to the questions. Kindly keep them coming. And I have my colleagues are on standby waiting for that. And allow me to proceed. So I would like to look at the sources of mental health challenges. So source of risk, personal and social, and then the risk factor. We have sometimes some of these challenges are genetic. We have the previous life experience can also inform the mental health challenge. Like as I said, PTSD, your experience will inform how your current life. Then we have life events or traumatic incidences. We have absence of social support, or even poor coping skills, inadequate resources, or personal health related behavior like alcohol, use of alcohol and drugs can also be a source of mental health challenge. Then source of risk at the workplace, we have job content. Some people are exposed to job content that is very traumatizing. And if you're not well debriefed, you are likely to end up being very traumatized, and it informs your mental health situation. Then you have workload and workplace. Some workplaces are very hostile, and people are not able to even deal with the pressure well. And you're always on the edge. You're always anxious of what the boss might say or what might happen, or whether you will be put under a program where you cannot even access facilities and so on and so forth. Then we have work schedule and control. And let me stay with control, because control could be, you could be the one having control issues, or you're under someone who has control issues. And that way you can end up being very anxious. And then we have environment and equipment. Some might also be a risk factor. We have organizational culture and function, and interpersonal relationship at work. We have role in the organization. Sometimes it can be because you're the lowest in the whatever, you feel like everyone is always on your case, or if you're the manager, a lot is expected of you. So it could be anyone in the hierarchy. So we have career development. If one feels like they've stagnated in one particular office for a while, it could lead to this challenges happening. Then we have violence and bullying at work. This could also be a cause of mental health challenges. And I would maybe even stay with bullying and harassment a bit, because sometimes we don't even know that we are bullying people. You can just, pass a comment and someone will not take it kindly. And maybe they've been struggling with, let me give an example here. Maybe someone has been struggling with weight, and you make a very negative comment about their weight. And that is actually bullying. And this person doesn't take it kindly, because already they are beating themselves too hard. And maybe they're just looking for affirmation and validation. And here you are, hey, I think you eat too much, or I think you're too big. That is very harsh, and it can lead to a lot of challenges in terms of mental health. Then we have the socioeconomic risk factor as a source of risk. That is the economy and the labor market. Like currently, the situation is not good. A lot of people have lost their jobs due to COVID and how it has affected the economy. But we'll come to COVID and its and the impact later on as we proceed. And then we have threat of and state of unemployment. This is clearly like the current greatest challenge we are having, because a lot of people have lost jobs, or some are on half pay, or some are not even have not been paid for a while, and they need to pay school fees. You've always seen how the education schedule has been very, very hectic. Like kids will close for 10 days, and within 10 days, you're expected to pay 100,000 or even much, because if you see like, oh, if you have 4 kids in private schools, can you imagine the pressure? And now your employer has even decided to put you on half pay. So these are some of the reasons that can cause mental health challenges. Then we have things like type of job contract. Sometimes you see like it's too short, you don't know what will happen. The contract is ending next week, and they've not said anything at work, so you don't even know where you are at. That is the same informing job security, reduction in availability of services, and things like welfare at work, or occupational safety and health. So these are some of the things that can put you at risk of getting into mental health challenges. And sorry, my slides keeps getting stuck, so bear with me. I think it's a network issue, but we'll get there. So,
hello, let me ask someone else to share these slides. There's something wrong here.
Anne. Hi, Rahab.
Yes, Eva. Hi.
As you continue to get support, probably we can have someone, we can have Rahab. One of the questions that has come up is, can one experience all the 3 types of mental health challenges you've spoken about, anxiety, depression, and burnout? Mm-hmm. She can be tackling that as you sort out the screen.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you very much, Eva. Yeah, there's a possibility of getting all 3 and even more. But you know, it's not now for you to diagnose yourself. You have to go to a professional to actually do this. Because you see, like let's say, for example, when we started hearing of COVID, everyone thought they had COVID. I don't know whether it's just me or where I work, because we felt like when someone sneezed, oh, now this is it. You know, when you have a headache and maybe you're just tired, you feel like you do have it. So there are tools that helps us actually know whether you're having anxiety, or you have anxiety, whether you have depression or burnout. So it's good to talk to a professional before even coming up to that conclusion that you might have all the 3. But there's a likelihood that you can have all the 3. In case there's any other question, I can't read my chat. So Eva, is there any other question?
Yes, there is. How do we really identify depression in serious joke or humorous stuff?
Thank you. That's a very good one. And always ask, if you find that someone is always joking and they're never in touch with themselves, you know, they're jokers. There are people who are always funny, but you can at least, you've seen where they are vulnerable, you've seen them at least sad, you've seen them be able to share of experiences where, you know, they're in touch with their feelings. That is okay. But if someone is just joking, let's say, for example, if I came and say, you know what, I just lost, God forbid, this so and so, and then I laugh about it. You see, that shows that I'm not in touch with that. So there you can tell there's a problem. Yeah. Any other coming up? And yes, we'll be able to share the notes via Irene, and maybe she will know how to, yeah, put them on that platform where everyone can be able to get them.
Yes, there is another one. Kindly comment on workplace counseling for an employee undergoing marriage, I think separation,
Okay.
but it's where does the work of HR stops?
And I would say that it's good to identify your competence, because at the end of the day, some HR are also trained in counseling psychology. And but if you feel like it's overwhelming you, even with the training, you can always send this person to a professional. And remember, even in counseling, we talked about dual relationship. Like, I cannot counsel my colleague. They would want to go to someone else. So already you're the HR manager of this particular employee. So when you now serve as the counselor, you're wearing two hats, a counselor and also a HR manager. So what will you do when you need to punish this person because they've not done, or they are not able to complete their task? And you know, a counselor is always informed never to harm. So you'll get very conflicted. So at the end of the day, know where lay your boundaries well, and know who is your support system as a HR manager. Who do you send this staff to so that they are also helped and their productivity can also increase? And you yourself, where do you go for debriefing? I hope I was clear on that.
Then there is a question there, Rahab. How can you assist a staff who clearly has signs of depression but are not willing to seek help?
That's a very good question, because one of the things that is being affected is also productivity. So I think as a HR, you also have the responsibility to ensure that this person is able to see that they are not meeting their targets, they are not able to complete their task, and that is one thing. So sending them for therapy would also be seen as a way of helping them be able to get to a point where now they are back to being productive. So as much as they are resisting, I think they also need to work on their productivity and be able to, reach out and get help in order to meet targets, because nobody wants to always be on the losing end or the failure end. So I think just encouraging them, this would help them also boost their productivity. It's not a punishment, and you've discovered that maybe they're having an issue and they need to talk to a professional who's not yourself, because also maybe they might not want to share with you because of breach of confidentiality and so on and so forth. So talking to someone who's more objective, who does not know them, and will not even, they will not feel like has victimized them because of the information they've had or shared, will be a good thing.
Thank you, Rahab. And it's good also to acknowledge that mental health is a highly stigmatized topic. So it will not be very possible for anyone to automatically agree they have a problem. That's why you may need to follow what, to seek probably, give them feedback and avail yourself for support and refer them appropriately. Because when you start now to force things into them, you will be compromised along the way. But it's not very easy to accept that you're depressed, you have anxiety, or you have mental health challenges. People still associate mental health challenges with madare, and the people who are tied, who are locked in places. So it's a very highly stigmatized. And that's why we're encouraging the discussions and the topics at workplace, that all of us are likely to experience mental health challenges at one point or the other. so that we normalize the discussions, and if someone requires support, they can be able to get. Do we go on? Then we take up the other questions as we continue.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Eva.
Okay, over to you, Anne.
Okay, before Anne comes in, let me just conclude on the effects of mental health challenges in the workplace. And I also appreciate a comment Eva said that it's okay not to be okay. So in case you're going through this, or you know that someone is going through all that we've discussed about anxiety, depression, and burnout, actually you can just tell them it's okay. Everyone gets there at some point and you need help. So the effects of mental health challenges at the workplace. We have low productivity, we have absenteeism. So as a HR manager, these are the things to note. There's overworking. Some people hide behind their work. So you'll find someone behind their desk, even past way past, even curfew. Let me say curfew, and they're still working, and you wonder how they'll get home. Maybe they don't want to get home because there are some challenges there, or maybe they're struggling with completing tasks. So there's increased conflict with colleagues. This is something also to watch out for. And so it's human to pick sides, but also note that there could be other challenges or other hidden issues. There's low morale, and there's increased medical and disability costs. Someone is always going to the hospital. Is it a headache? Sometimes it's BP problems. So some of the things to note. There's high employee turnover. So these are some of the things that can be happening at the workplace. So what goes through your mind at work? These are some of the thoughts that different people have at different times. I don't take my work home. That's someone's thought. And someone else saying, no one else seems stressed. And someone else thinking, I put on a brave face. There's everyone else is more competent than I am. It's my fault if things go wrong. My boss will think I can't cope if I ask for help. It's important to take a break. That's someone else who maybe is engaged in self-care. I do a good job. I can only do what I can. I work to live, not live to work. These are some of the thoughts that may be playing out to different people in the same workplace. Then I'll complete with the signs of mental health challenges. What to watch out for. There's inability to prioritize is one. Unsure of abilities or lack of confidence. I've been talking about this all along. So when you are doubting someone's confidence, they could be going through something. So it's always good to at least keep encouraging them, affirming them, or asking them if they need any help to be able to deal with this. Then they staying stuck on one task. I've been talking about this, not being able to complete any task. There's irritability. One may seem scattered or absent-minded, looking drained, finding it difficult to talk to people or to anyone. I'm sure you've seen a situation where when you summon someone to the office as the HR, they just break down and they don't utter any word. They cannot even tell you why they are crying. That is normal. There's difficulty working with colleagues and clients. That is, you're not able to work in a team or to even consult with others. Then turning down assignments. You feel, I think this is too hard for me. Give it to Anne, or give it to Eva, or give it to someone else. Then withdrawal from team and isolating oneself. This is also another sign of mental health challenge. We have putting things off and missing deadlines. We have procrastination, indecisiveness, slowed productivity, coming to work late or leaving to go home late. Then there's afternoon fatigue. These are some of the signs to watch out for as far as mental health challenges are concerned.
Let me talk into that. Now, after learning all that about mental health, The next stage we are going to is to find out what can we do differently, what can we do to our struggling employees, colleagues, ourselves even, because we fall either as employees or employers. So we fall in both categories. It's important for us to reflect a bit about how to get better, about how we are doing things. The second activity is to go through what are the things that we can do to improve our mental health. And Michelle is here with me. She has posted a question, a link in the chats. For those who joined us later, there's a Mentimeter. You can fill in. We'll check the results once we go a bit in the interest of time. I can see we have 45 minutes left.
In the Mentimeter, please note that it is anonymous. So you can click the link that is in the chat box there from Michelle Olwoj. Click the link, it will take you to a browser window. You can answer the question there. What are some of the things you can do to improve your mental health? We can be able to sample a few before we move on. Just click the link and it will redirect you. Please note again that it is anonymous. Therefore, we can't tell who is saying what.
Thank you, Michelle. As we get engaged in that exercise, we can continue. Then we'll stop somewhere to look at the analysis.
Michelle. Hi, Michelle. Someone is saying you're not audible. They're not able to hear what you said.
Yes, I was using Anne's machine because unfortunately I'm having some challenges with my own. But I was saying that there's a link in the chat box from Michelle Olwoj. Just click on the link. It will redirect you to a browser window. I can see 47 people have already answered. I am sharing my screen shortly so that you can sample some of them before we go ahead. So just click on the link and then we can be able to see how some of our thoughts are. And just a note, it is anonymous. Therefore, you do not have to worry about other people worrying or looking at your answers. So we can see some of your responses there. Somebody says, talk, talk, talk. Another one says, speak out, not be silent, going for therapy, help me cope with mental health challenges I've experienced. Somebody else is saying exercise, have a support system. Another one is saying exercise and prayer. We can see regular counseling, seek help when you feel overwhelmed, meditation, staying positive, going for leave, taking time for well-being activities, reflect on my emotions to see if there's something I need to sort out, take a break. Someone again is saying talk, understand your emotions. Somebody is saying sleep for 8 hours every night and try to form a pattern by sleeping at the same time every night. Talk to friends, so jogging, engaging in extracurricular activities. So thank you all for your responses. I can see 120 people at the bottom right have answered. So thank you for that. More are saying go out of the office, probably do sports, engaging in sporting activities. Somebody saying at my workplace, we have a counseling agency we have partnered with. So you more or less do the same things to improve your mental health. Thank you for your responses.
Thank you so much for participating in that exercise. Actually, your participation is very, very well appreciated, and it's interesting because those responses are exactly what we need to do for us to be able to take care of our mental health. Like I said, we are all employees and we are also employers. So when we fall as employees, what is it that we can do to make it better for us? And I've seen so many of you saying, seek help. Could be help of a counselor, could be help of a spiritual leader. I've seen someone talk about spirituality. And then also resilience. Who are we as a person? What is deep inside us? That's what defines our personal resilience to issues. Because two people can experience the same thing, but you find one bounces back faster than the other because of what is internally in them. So even reflection will help us see how resilient are we. Self-care, we're going to another slide about self-care. Maintain and enhance your social networks, very important. Who are you hanging out with? What are you doing with them? What quality work are you doing? Is it with your family? Because people you hang with do make your stress hormones go down and they boost up your feel-good hormones like dopamine. It's a good place to be hanging at because it leaves you feeling better and rejuvenated. Exercising, someone has talked to that. Talk to your employer. Some of us will be dying inside, but we are not saying it. But unless you express it, how your employer know you are unwell? And if someone doesn't come to the HR and say, I'm not well, how will you know? So these are part of the things that the responsibility of the employee. We always say, what is my contribution as an employee to my own mental well-being? And also knowing your rights as an employee. Sometimes you can be overwhelmed by work. There are people you can work with who keep loading their work onto you. So are you able to speak out? And part of what we do in counseling is teaching people assertive skills. Even adults fail in that. I'm not able to say without feeling guilty about it and without being rude that I don't think this is part of my responsibility, because it will crush you if you continue working like that. And that's why you find some people staying late in the night because during the day they were doing other people's work. There's nothing wrong with helping, but let's know what we need to do. Let's go to the next screen. Now, I talked of self-care. Self-care can be categorized into 8 different aspects, where it can be physical. Are you exercising? Some people talk about exercising. Are you eating healthy? The food we eat also determines who we are and the energy levels and our mental well-being. Are we sleeping enough? I like the fact that most of you alluded to all these things. Are you doing a walk? Because some people think exercising is just running and sweating it out in the estates or anywhere that people run around. But even a walk is a good thing. It combines exercise as well as reflection. Then emotionally, how am I managing my stress? What are my coping skills? And most times you find there's a thing we say about depression running in families, but mostly research has shown it's about the coping skills that run in that family. Because we all get a state of stress that can also go into a bit of depression, but how am I bouncing back? So my coping skills is important. Compassion. When you do good things to people, you actually get a very good feeling of mental health. When you support, like people are in trouble, you help them, it boosts your feel-good hormones and also it leaves you very healthy, feeling better. Therapy is what we are saying. Journaling, someone talked to about journaling. Then also there are social self-care aspects. What boundaries am I setting? And that's where most of us fail. Boundaries. What am I allowing into my space? How is it leaving me feeling? Because sometimes you find when we have no boundaries, we tend to get abused by especially people who've learned who we are. And mostly it comes from even our own relatives and friends that they know Anne will not say no to something, so they keep coming and coming and coming. But when you are firm about your boundaries, when you apply the assertive skills, you find that people are able to stop and say, oh, yeah, they start thinking of other alternatives. So who is in your support system? Is it your family? Is it the church? Is it a chama? The support system is something that really helps us, and people say one of the key pillars of mental wellness is a support system. The second one is spirituality, and the third one is resilience. They all fall here. And then spirituality, yes, time alone. How am I spending time alone reflecting about who I am as a person? And spirituality is not religiosity. It's about believing in a higher being that is in charge of the things that we do and the way we feel about many things. Meditation, prayer, a walk in nature. Some people go to Karura Forest. It's become very common. Others go to the Arboretum. It's very therapeutic. Sacred places. People go visit sacred places like Mecca or like the shrines. And you find they come back very rejuvenated and their mental health being in a better place. What am I doing as personal aspects of my self-care? Do I have any hobbies? What is my creativity? Some people like baking, others like cooking, others go to play tennis. It's different things that make you feel better. Space, at home, how am I? How clean is my environment? If I maintain a messy space, I'm likely to feel very stressed about it and also very unstable in the place that I'm living in. Financial boundaries. What is it that I'm doing about my financial boundaries? Are people coming to borrow me money? Like now times are hard, there's COVID, but what boundaries have I set in such that I'm able to be able to say, no, right now I'm not able to without feeling guilty, because you can be pushed to a corner. So am I budgeting the little that I'm making? Some people are on a pay cut. What are we doing about it? Because these are things that can push us to mental instability. Work, time management, so that you don't stay in the office after hours. Set boundaries of work. That's what I was saying. Don't help people, but don't do what is not within your job description sometimes, because it can break you. You take healthy breaks. Someone talked of having a holiday. Are you going out on a vacation, or you're working year in, year out? Now, when a colleague is struggling, we mentioned there could be depression, anxiety, burnout. What shouldn't we tell them? Because we tend to say these things. Like someone is struggling and we are saying, it's all in your head. Come on, things could be worse. Someone has lost something, for example, and people tend to think it's a small thing. If someone loses their phone and they come to the office and they are distressed, and someone says, just a phone, it could be worse. You'd have lost the whole bag. It's a loss, whether small or big, because in the person's magnitude, it's a big thing. Or snap out of it. These comments are insensitive. As HR professionals, we need to look out for them so that we don't say them or don't encourage people to say them. Then what can coworkers do to help someone who is struggling? You make it clear you want to help them. You listen without judgment and offer support. And someone asked, what if my colleague doesn't want to come for support? Keep telling them. It's never enough to say, I'm here for you. I'm listening. I can hear you. Because it's in listening that will make them soften their stand, that someone actually listened and it felt better. And you don't listen to give answers. You just listen for someone to offload, what we call getting catharsis, by them telling you their story. You encourage them also to seek help. Like we said, boundaries of how far can I go? If someone is having a marital issue at home, you may not be the expert. Help them go to the people who've been trained to do that. If you think they're in danger, especially when we talked about suicidal ideations, one thing as HR professionals you can never afford to ignore is a suicidal ideation. Do not downplay it, because at that point, that person's brain chemicals are not functioning very well, so they can actually do it. They are not in that logical space. So if you find someone is saying, I'm going to kill myself, and sometimes they're very explicit, or they can be very subtle. Someone can say, I wish I could sleep and not wake up. Look out for those subtle comments. I think people will be happier without me, because there are people who not outright say it. So when you hear such comments, do not take it lightly or even laugh it off. Help them seek help. Support them to seek professional help. Even if you feel there is no counselor available at that point, take them to a hospital setup that they will get some help from there, because sometimes depression needs a medical intervention. Yes, stay in check, touch and check on how people are doing. And also confidentiality. If I'm coming to your desk to tell you my story and I'm hearing it in the corridors, that means the next time I will not tell you about my story. So yes, co-workers can support each other. Now, as HR professionals, you're managers in your own capacities. So what is the role of the manager in identifying mental health challenges among your staff? And it could be staff who've been referred by their boss from another department. Remember, HR is a social department that supports all of them. In fact, some companies call it a service department. So someone may be referred to you from finance, could be from audit, could be any other department, advertising and marketing. So what is your role as manager? If you look there are 6 images. Of course, there are many more, but we like looking at the 6 because one, like the first image there, what is happening? What does that arm speak of? Warmth. That person is out to help. Now we don't shake hands anymore because of COVID, but genuine warmth will be felt with or without a handshake. There are managers we know they are warm. They don't have to shake your hand, but you know they are able to listen to you. And warmth comes with listening without judging. They may not have the answers, but they listen. They have the listening ear, and which is the second diagram there. After you are warm and you notice that people need your ear, you stop everything you're doing. If I walk into your office, you don't keep taking calls and calling other people and remembering appointments. You just stop everything and listen. The third one is decision making. As a manager, the department is in a crisis or the company is in a crisis. Like now we are talking about headcount with COVID-19 pandemics. People are losing jobs. What's the decisions you're making as a HR manager and where are they leaving you at? So, and then communication skills, how do you communicate? Like now the biggest role for you is to say, we need staff cuts, we need salary reductions. And I'm only imagining as a HR professional where all these things leave you at. Leadership, the 5th image, you lead from the front, others follow. And then finally, it's critical thinking. When are you called upon to do some critical thinking and then the decision makings? Let's be in that space so that we are able to identify mental health challenges among the staff that we manage. One big thing, confidentiality, is a very good skill for managers. Can I trust you with my story? If I'm struggling with pornography, if I'm struggling with an addiction, can I tell you without hearing it in the staff meetings, without hearing it in the tea room, without hearing it in the corridors? So confidentiality as managers, let's always train ourselves to do that, because if someone has opened their heart to you, it's because they are trusting you. And what are the attributes you look out for as the managers? Observant. We say body language speaks 80%. 20% is what we say. As a manager, what are you seeing as your employees walk into the office in the morning? How is their body language? Are you able to observe someone looks extremely sad? Have you noticed their tears? Have you noticed they are isolating? Let's look out more. Let's be more observant. Empathy, the ability to get into someone's world without getting lost in it. If they are suffering something, if they've lost like a child, or maybe they are suffering from, maybe they are constantly falling ill, and right now there is COVID. So what am I doing as a manager to be able to get into their world and to support them walk their journey? But personally, as a manager, only remembering that I may not walk to their journey to the end, but with empathy, I'm able to guide and support them as they walk it. Self-awareness, a very key attribute. Do I know who I am? Am I able to know when I'm starting to get angry? Am I able to know what rubs me wrong? Am I able to know how my emotional state is? So that I know when I walk into the office in the morning, this is the state I'm in today. So that I constantly keep myself in check. Self-awareness is a very big role in making us mentally well. Issues that are being reported, not necessarily in one place, but this is just a few of them. Family fights, especially now during COVID, people are fighting over different things, including space. You remember when we went into some isolation, like for a whole 9 months, children were home, then there was no space, then everyone is where they are not used to being. Then there was curfew, there was lockdowns. So there were many of those that were presenting, and they still do because of different aspects that are rolling in. Intimate partner violence, are couples fighting by being in the same space for too long? Are finances causing them to fight over this? Are the children causing them to fight over this? So these are some of the issues, and you as HR professionals, you hear them being presented to you. So how do you roll them out so that your employees get support? Parenting challenges, there are people parenting adolescents or parenting people who are addicted to substance. How are they doing it? How can we support them? At the workplace, unclear career paths. If I'm moving from finance, or what is my movement from an assistant accountant? Where else do I go? Is it clear for me, or there's a ceiling over my head? Alcohol and substance abuse, suicidal ideations, workload. Sometimes you feel the workload is skewed. It's not well balanced. There are people who tend to do more than others. What are you doing as the manager when it's presented to you? How do you support them to feel that you listen to them? Because they rarely have time for family and themselves. Sexual relationships at work. It may not be common where you work, but it is there. What is happening? Some of your managers are trying to get into sexual relationship with their direct reports, or people are junior to them. And what is the pay? What is the favors that they are seeking? So you find these things you need to be very aware, and they of course cause mental health challenges and also stigma. We'll talk about stigma in a few minutes. So let's go. Now, what can the managers do to implement this? You can help in implementing and enforcement of health and safety policies and practices, including, remember I said your employees, if you're observant, you notice distress. You will notice an employee who is abusing substance. It could be alcohol, could be any other type of drugs. Illnesses, someone maybe is chronically ill and they are not saying it. And then you provide the resources to manage all these things. Informing staff that support is available is one key thing. Tell them there are people like Nancy out there who can support them. Involving employees in decision-making. Sometimes you find in some organizations, employees don't even know what is going on. The right hand doesn't know what the left is doing, and it never trickles down to the employees. And sometimes it's important to tell them, because you find some of those decisions affect them as people. A feel of control, conveying a feeling of control and participation. So when you involve them, they get that feeling of actually we're in control of what the decisions made on our behalf. Support a healthy work-life balance. If you notice your employee is there past 6 o'clock, find out what is going on, how can they be supported so that they're able to go home early and be able to balance their work-life issues. Career development, what do you have in your place? Are you able to help people understand how to chart their career paths? Rewarding the contribution of employees. Are they able to feel rewarded when they do well? Now, and finally, this is among the last slides. It's coming to the elephant in the room, COVID. We couldn't live without talking about COVID. It has caused a lot of mental health challenges, and it still continues to cause them. So there is a question there about what are the common mental health challenges you've experienced with COVID? So get into the, Michelle, you're able to, I'm sure everyone has gotten the wavelength of how to go in. But yes, we felt we couldn't live without mentioning COVID, because it's a big thing. It's a big thing, and no one knows where it's going. No one knows when it's stopping. Every day we wake up, there's a variant. So as Michelle is setting up that, maybe I can be talking into it. But the question is, Eva, as Michelle is setting us up, is there a question that needs to be responded to? At least one question?
Yes, and there are very many questions. One person is asking, in these days of pandemic, we still have organization where people are working from home. How can you tell that a colleague is mentally unwell?
Thank you, Eva. Remember, we said we are very observant, And sometimes what is not spoken is the biggest thing. You start seeing those telltale signs, like performance. Is it coming up? Let's take, for example, if someone is working from home, obviously there are deliverables that they need to do. If you notice they are falling short, already that's an indicator something is happening, because that's not their nature. So reach out to them. When you make a phone call, how is their response? You've called people and heard they have zero energy. You can hear how they're responding to that phone call. I remember there's a training we used to go some years back where we were told, when you pick the phone, smile. The other person on the other end can hear it. So if you're picking a phone call and someone is not even smiling, you can tell, then there's something that tells you there. So let's look out for the performance outcomes, what is going on, so that you're able to know who is struggling. And then obviously, like when you're talking to them, like we said, reach out to them, make a conversation. There are those subtle things that they may say. Like someone might say, I'm feeling a bit stressed this morning. I don't know what, schools have opened, or they may not be that obvious. You hear something like schools have opened and I don't know. And then you can hear children talking in the background. What does that tell you? Those children have not gone to school. Support them. Talk about it. You may not have the answers, but you may give the key to where they need to go next. Thank you.
Thanks, Anne. Michelle has been able to post, and as people respond also on working from home at this time, it's important also to at times ask people to put the videos on, so that, and do activities that you can tell them, let's all dance, or put on a song. I've seen many institutions, engaging on different aspects, and you can be able to tell that person has not even changed from their night dress. And even when you're working from home, there are some continuous things that you wake up, do in the morning, probably brush your teeth, take care of yourself, and be able to dress up, not really to go to work or outside your house, but being ready for a meeting. So those are some of the things that you can be able to do. Kindly continue answering. Michelle has been able to put the question on the Mentimeter on your chats. Click on it.
Yeah, 19 responses already in. Anxiety, stigma, fear, depression, increased worry, family breakdowns, job losses, salary cuts, fear of contracting COVID from colleagues in the office, extreme anxiety. So we are seeing there's anxiety. There is someone here say there is also laziness, memory loss, anxiety, family issues, stigma. So what are we seeing? And thank you, keep them coming in. There is 46 responses so far, and they are all similar, because one thing is the stigma, the anxiety, depression, salary cuts, job losses, family conflicts. So thank you, let's keep them coming. And let's talk now a bit about stigma. Now, what is stigma? Yeah, let's get the slides running, but I can be talking about that. Stigma is when we have a negative association between a person or a group who shares similar values or similar characteristics, a specific disease. So you find now this is the general outlook we have about them, and usually it's a negative thing. Yes, we have a negative association to people who share certain characteristics, like the way we stereotype people. Like we say so and so, or maybe you may find we are stereotyping based on gender. These are people with a certain characteristic. A specific disease like COVID, it has become very common. We tend to stereotype, we discriminate. And especially when someone says if someone has COVID, they should not come near us. They can, because of the stories we've heard about them, we'll soon be talking, what is it that makes us stigmatize people? Or we treat them differently, or we exclude them from activities. Yeah, and then then because we perceive them to have a link with the disease, COVID, yes. Next. So what is it that is happening? Now, mental health challenges and COVID, it's a big thing. Because what has happened is that people are getting ill, and they started getting ill, and you realize it's moving. It actually keeps mutating. Now, I don't know in which variant, but I know that variant manifested differently because initially we knew people are coughing, people have fever, people have this, but there was a variant that came. Some of those characteristics were not visible. So what is it that has made COVID to be such a challenge? Bereavement, loss of life. People have died. People are still dying because we don't understand what COVID it is, what it's evolving. And variant 3 came with COVID pneumonia. So you find we are waiting for people to cough or get fever. None of those is happening. So when they go for testing, there is no positive result. But inside, like inside the lungs, something is happening there. And one thing we keep telling people is listen to your body. What are you feeling? Because at least one thing they say, there's that extreme fatigue and general lethargy. You have no energy. So yes, there's bereavement, isolation. When people are made to stay in one room, what does that mean in terms of even their mental health? If you are a caregiver or you are a spouse and your spouse is put in isolation, how is that for you? You cannot be stable. You cannot imagine they're sleeping in a separate room. You've heard horror stories. So are you even stable mentally? So you see, this is what it is doing to us. Loss of jobs, people have been laid off, people's salaries have been reduced. And these kind of conditions are making even existing conditions worse. If you have a chronic illness and you think about COVID, you start to get more apprehensive, you get anxious, you get fear because you've had. It could be one of the things that if COVID gets anywhere near you, then you're in more trouble than everyone else. So that kind of anxieties, and I liked your responses. Then alcohol abuse. The other day I was reading in the Saturday Nation and some 4 women were being interviewed and they say they've realized they are drinking more now because they're doing it from home. Remember you asked about working from home. So I buy my alcohol, I go home with it and drink it. So they become more alcoholic now. And actually 2 of them say they've become alcoholic and they're starting to get addicted because they've realized they are drinking more because it's at the safety of their home. So there's more usage of alcohol. Others are doing it to cope. If I cannot understand what I'm feeling, if I cannot understand what COVID has done to me, maybe I've lost a relative, a significant other, I tend to take alcohol to medicate. So others who can sleep, insomnia, anxiety can lead to insomnia, fear and worry of our loved ones, especially if you have elderly parents, you are thinking now if they get COVID, they will not survive. And then support you rely on. And this has become very common. You lose someone. Usually as Africans, when we lose someone, we are expecting support to come through. People come either in terms of finances, in terms of their time, in terms of consolation and comfort and prayers. Now remember COVID, the 72 hours the government gives, then it means within 3 days you've buried someone and you're burying in isolation because they limit even the numbers. What does that mean for you? You're coming back to work, you have no money because maybe you left an ICU bill, you've mortgaged your car, you might be walking to work, you mortgaged the title deed because you want to release the body, there was no one to help you even fundraise. So some of these things have become very mental health challenging. And then also the stigma, like we are saying, someone walks into the office and we don't want even to go near the tea table because they are standing there. They use the washrooms, we are thinking they've touched the door. What are we doing to each other? They've been in isolation for 14 days, they come back to the office and we are avoiding them because we are thinking COVID will catch us. Let's be a bit sensitive so that we don't stigmatize others because COVID, like Mutaikawa said, it is out there, it can get anyone. Finally, principles of self-responsibility, because everything we do calls for self-responsibility. When I meet clients, I ask them, what is your contribution in this struggle you're telling me? Because most people come and start telling you about their father, their mother, their spouse, their brother, their nephew, their who. But then you say, wait a minute, let's stay with you. What is your personal responsibility in this story you're telling me? And one of the principal self-responsibilities, instead of criticizing others, be quiet. Especially when you don't know what to say, let's keep catching ourselves so that we don't keep saying things that hurt others. Instead of complaining, make a suggestion. Some of us employees, we wake up complaining, we go home complaining, and we are not suggesting, I'm thinking we can do this better. If you are doing many photocopies, maybe you have some contract, instead of complaining, how can we make this work easier so that it becomes a conversation point? And instead of looking for a culprit, find a solution. Now, that's why I was saying self-responsibility. Most clients will present blaming other people, everyone else out there except themselves. What is it that, how do you become a culprit to everyone? My boss in the office, my neighbor is complaining, I don't know, my landlord, my employer, the church. You even hear things that are going all the way. How did you become a culprit in all these things? And that's why we say self-awareness says, take a break, stop, listen to yourself. What is it that these people are saying? Because most times we tend to jump into conclusions, or we jump into defense mode, such that we are not able to get solutions to what is going on. And instead of playing the, okay, it's cut, but instead of justifying your mistakes, learn from them. If you make a mistake, you are aware that this is a mistake, you choose to learn from it. Instead of judging yourself, instead of judging others, judge your own attitudes. What is it that I'm doing that is making others feel like this about me? And that is where we stop for today. And finally, one big thing, it is okay not to be okay. So that you don't judge yourself harshly. You don't feel like it's exceptional. You don't feel like you don't want to talk about it. Appreciating and accepting that it is okay not to be okay gives us the energy and the power to seek help for it. Let's all be aware of this. Let's all accept that it's okay not to be okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anne. We have several questions that I will ask you to kindly respond. The first question is, I have been able to respond to several, but for the sake of the others to be able to listen, someone is saying, I keep turning up to my job late due to overthinking at night, therefore end up sleeping very late. I lost my marriage to infidelity, so coping with my 3 kids has been tough for the past year. Any suggested remedies?
Thank you, Eva. Now, sometimes when we get into mental health challenges, they have a push effect. The marriage breaks. You have been left with 3 children. All this load is on you. Now your job is starting to suffer. But like I said, when we have to start catching ourselves, let's first do first things first. If this job is lost, how worse can your story be? Because if you're not able even to get there early enough, because at night you didn't sleep. And remember, we said one of the symptoms of people starting to go into depression is sleeplessness, no energy, low value of self, what we call worthlessness. But for this particular question, there are 2 aspects to look at. Who is in your support system, even with the children? Who do you reach out to? Who is your to-go-to person? Who doesn't judge you? Because when you have 3 children to take care of, obviously it comes with its own dynamics. So who is it that can help you out here? And obviously the next thing is the counseling will come in very handy, because it will be able to ask you those questions that, like exploration. So one thing led to another. It's like a pack of cards. One thing started and then it's a domino effect. It pushes all the cards to the floor. So when before the marriage broke, during the breakage, after the breakage, and the here and now, what is going on? We'll have a conversation around that. That one, it's very empowering. 2, it helps you reflect on what you can do differently. Because like not falling asleep, it's something you can discuss about and see what is it that you can do differently that gives you some time, that allows you to sleep at night. So let's reach out to our reach to persons. It could be psychosocial support, it could be a relative, it could be a church person, it could be anyone you can trust with your story so that they are able to listen without judging. But most of all, seek professional help, because you can be stuck somewhere and then you find you start losing interest and hope. Thank you.
Thank you. And the other question is it in order to resign or to avoid termination on grounds of non-performance when as head of HR, you are mentally tormented by the CEO and by extension, the board, simply because you're giving your professional advice, but both the CEO and the board cannot buy in, especially when restructuring or redundancy is being done unprocedurally or unprofessionally.
Thank you. What am I hearing? That point we are between a rock and the hard place. You are the decision maker in terms of restructuring and being able to speak into what is going on. So the question is, you may choose to resign, but sometimes you say, don't resign first. Let's have this fight, a healthy fight. Because if you keep resigning and then you go somewhere else, God will bless you with another job, or you could be lucky to get another job. But anytime you find challenges like those, the feeling to resign still kicks in again, because it's something that we were not able to speak or fight through. From where we sit, we'll be able to process and say, what are your options? If you're jumping out of a job, what does that mean in terms of even your financial stability? What are you doing that will keep you stable without a job for 6 months? And that's where now financial freedom also kicks in, because those conversations about free finances is that you are able to put something aside that can keep you running for 6 months. So for now, if you want to resign because the boss is pushing you there, sometimes it could be the only left option, but it's good to process it, because it helps you see how does this benefit me as a person? Does the toxicity in my workplace give me mental health challenges, or is it manageable for another extra day? But at the end of the day, speaking what it is that is right is a good thing. Even if they decide to take you out, you will have spoken. And somehow, they always say when you speak, someone hears. They may pretend not to hear at that point because of the charged environment. But when you've left, it will benefit the next person who comes in. But of course, for you leaving, we'll have helped you structure your path so that you don't jump out of it without a due thought process.
Thank you, Anne. The other person, and I think Rahab or someone else can jump in, Desma. How can one deal with mental health in relationships in work?
Thank you for the question, Eva. I think the first thing is identifying where you are at. Self-awareness is very important. So if maybe the relationship are strained, find out, is it yourself who has the problem? And if so, how do you address it? And if not on your end, then how do you identify a way to communicate to the other person in order for the grievances to be well sorted without offending the other person or upsetting them? Then it's always good to understand who you're working with and always checking on them, because sometimes as we talked of irritability, and that can strain on relationship at work. So if a colleague is irritable, he's likely not to be the best to work with. However, maybe it's good to find out how you can support them and how you can reach out and be able to even make the relationship work better. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy, for that. Someone else is asking, as we conclude or hand it over back to Irene, someone is asking, there are two questions that Anne, you can be able to answer. Someone is asking, I keep on getting stressed because of anxiety and depression from my boss. This trickles back to me. How do I work around this. Then the other question is, how do you support a couple that is married partner, wife and husband working in the same environment, and they seem to be having conflicts now and then? And kindly go.
Let me start with anxiety from both. What was the question? I know you talked of suffering from. Please repeat that question, Eva. Hello, Eva.
The person is talking of the boss, the supervisor, who is very anxious and is depressed, and the same is getting into the person.
So it's a boss who is depressed.
Yes.
Oh, so this person is, yeah, obviously we say negativity as a way of escalating downwards. If someone is unhappy and they're in your company, we tend to suck into that mood. But what we start with is the self-awareness. The boss could be having his own challenges. I'm the direct report. Obviously, his challenges are affecting me emotionally, psychologically, physically, and in all aspects of my life. How can I communicate that? And we talk of communication skills. And one of the biggest things about communication, especially when you have to communicate to someone senior to you, is stay with the I statement. I have observed, I have noticed, so that it doesn't feel accusatory, because usually when you use the word you, like assuming it's the same boss, and then you go and say, you know, you have been having this mood and I'm feeling like, you see, the I is coming after. So obviously when you start with the you, the boss goes into defense. Like, what are you saying? But if you say, and with a lot of gentleness, we say emulate. For those who are Christians in this group, one of the communication skills is emulate the heart of Christ, the humility. When you communicate something, do it with a lot of humility, because the other people are able to hear it. So you say, I have noticed that you don't look happy. And obviously for me as your direct report, I'm actually getting affected by that. Is it something? And because now you may not tell you what it is, you draw reference and say, maybe it's something you'd want to talk to someone about. Maybe it's something as, maybe the boss is stressed by the boss. Is it something you'd want to talk about? And you leave it at that. Because like we said, at the end of the day, they've heard you. When someone senior to you and you communicate, you let them process it. Obviously, sometimes we jump into defense, the first line of defense as human beings, but when they start with the I, we are able to stop and say, wait a minute, what have they noticed? So that you're not sucked into it. Now, the couple is working together and they're having conflict.
Yes.
How
They're having performance issues and conflict.
I knew of a particular company where the policy was the husband and wife should not be in the same office, obviously, but the different companies have different things. But when I came to look at it later, I realized this part of it. If a couple is in the office and working together and they're having conflict, even from the home front, obviously it will be brought to the office. Because I'm walking the corridors, I meet him or she meets me. So you find there are those challenges. But what I realized used to work for them, it doesn't necessarily have to work for everyone else, is that you decide to step out. And I've dealt with clients who used to work like, you meet this man, you fall in love and you get married, but you're still in the same employment. But it would make more sense if one of you like changed departments or changed the location, because everyone now in the office will realize these two are having a conflict because it speaks in the corridors. But if that was not possible, then self-awareness is very key, so that we are able to draw the line and the boundaries we were talking about. If I'm having a conflict at home, if I'm self-aware, I will always keep calling myself by name as I walk to the office, because assuming I'm working with my husband here also. So I'll be calling myself by name and reminding myself, and boundary settings. Whatever was at home was for home, not here. Because here, if both of us, our performance is affected, then we'll lose the jobs. So what does that mean? And especially if it's both of you, it's like having both of you in the same basket. If you're to lose the jobs, it would even get worse. So awareness is very important, that you keep catching yourself, but also seeking help. By the way, counseling is not just because of mental, and you know, when you talk of mental health challenges, by the way, it's important to say mental health challenges are not necessarily disorders. What we mentioned first were the disorders, like the psychotic disorders and whatever, but everyday life is a stressor in itself. Nairobi traffic jam is a stressor. Lack of finances or waiting for the month end, if you're in employment and money is not coming, is a stressor. So I want to demystify the fact that seeking mental health support is not necessarily because you've gone into a disorder mode. You are just in these everyday challenges, and one of the couple conflicts, it's an everyday challenge that can easily be dealt with if you let someone hear you out. Thank you.
Thanks, Anne. We may need some guidance from Irene because we have very many questions and some of them are urgent. Someone is saying kindly support urgently on this. Irene, can you give us like 10 minutes? Probably we tackle the questions.
Thank you, Rehab. Thank you, Anne and Eva. I can see the questions are coming and members are asking whether they will get the slides. Yes, you will get the slides and the recording. And if we're in agreement, it's 4:05. We could do another 10 minutes to end this at 4:15 because some people have started dropping out also. So if we could conclude it in the next 10 minutes with the questions that have already been asked. And after that, we can still share. I see Anne has already shared her phone number. We can share the contact details. And this is the first of many initiatives that we hope to have with LVCP, especially on the Wema Kazini initiative that you have. So Eva, we can do 10 minutes. Let's hope to finish by 4:15.
Thanks, Irene. And probably to be able to support, someone has asked, there is a staff who is attracted to the same sex and keeps on pushing, or the person is saying they keep on seeking attention from others of the same sex who are not interested. So I'll be able to tackle this because at workplace, we have what we call sexual harassment. And if you have an employee of if you have more than 20 employees, your workplace ought to have sexual harassment policy that you have been able to formulate with how to be able to report cases of sexual harassment, whom do you report to, what are the turnaround times for hearing the cases, how do you protect both the accused and the accusers, and which committee or which members listen to these cases, what are the, with all those laid down very clearly, so that if such a case comes out, because whether it's opposite sex harassment or same sex harassment, it's still sexual harassment at workplace. That the human resource personnel ought to be aware and to ensure that their workplaces have the policies in place, well-defined, the staff are aware about, and during the induction, you let the person know if this happens, these are the reporting channels, and this is what ought to happen. Because that also can, sexual harassment or abuse or bullying at workplace has been one of the causes of mental illness at workplace, where someone feels, where am I going to report in the morning? My boss was touching me last night. How do I move on from this to this? So it brings a lot of non-perform, and now it is tied to power issues at workplace. That's why when the policy is in place and people are aware, they are able to report, they are able to get support, and it creates a better working environment. Same case, someone has asked about someone who has a relationship with the CEO, sexual relationship. So it depends on what the policy has. Like at LVCT Health, the policy is very clear. You cannot be dating or be having sexual relationship with your colleague. If you're getting married, one person has to give out or give in and leave the institution. So what policies are there? So depending on what policies are set in place, the communication needs to be addressed and taken with what Anne has spoken to us about. It's not malicious. You're letting the person know this is what is happening and it is not allowed here, and these are the repercussions. So when that is communicated very clearly, I know when it comes to power issues, like the CEO is involved in it, even the human resource or the supervisor may not know exactly how to tackle this. But if the policy is very clear, you're able to bring into their attention so that whether they'll do something about it or they will not do something about it, you have done your part. And we said that in these, when you're faced with circumstances, if you're able to tackle it, please go on and tackle it. If you're not able to, you can push it and seek to tackle it at another time. And if completely you're not able to tackle it, don't die there. So those are the limits that we encourage people to work around. The other question that I'll ask Anne to supporters, Rahab, to supporters is, how do you support a staff who has had a stillbirth?
Thank you very much, Eva. I think we underestimate loss of a pregnancy, and to the mother, it is a loss. And we sometimes, most of the time, we don't share how difficult it was even to get pregnant. And when one loses a pregnancy, they're hit hard. So I think in support of this is dealing with it like any other loss. Like even the way you would still support someone who's lost a relative or a close friend, the same way you'd actually support a mother who's lost her pregnancy. And to avoid comments like those unshared, like you'll get another one, you will be pregnant soon, because we never know how difficult it was for the process, and it's equally a great loss for this particular parent or mother, or even both the mother and the father as a couple. So let's not underestimate loss. There's no big loss or small loss. A loss is loss. And even the loss of a pencil could be really hard on someone. So let's treat loss as serious and be able to support people and offer them any kind of support they would ask of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Rahab. The other question, Anne, you can support us is, how can a supervisor handle an employee with acute bipolar and a chronic absentee?
Thank you. That's a very important question. I've seen it in a previous place. And yes, bipolar, depending on the type, there's type 1 and type 2. You find sometimes in those hypomanias where it's low, the mood is very low. And the hypers, the mood is very high. When they walk through the office in the morning, the door you know. But what I've seen working is that bipolar needs medical intervention because the brain chemicals are not functioning well. And those two go together, the medical intervention and counseling, because there are situations in their life that make it worse, especially like when there are deadlines. They're not able to cope. If you give them routine work, they're not able to cope. So when it comes to counseling, you ask them what else, how else can they both engage you in a way? Because like those who have hypermanias, if a job is routine, they don't do very well with it. They will open the drawer and look at those things they need to do and just keep looking at them. So what is it that we can do as employers? Support them, let them get their medications. They usually be going for their monthly dose. But I've seen some, it gets better with the counseling such that they don't need to do as much drugs as they would have done if they didn't go for psychosocial support, so that the psychosocial support is able to help them identify triggers identify what is not working, what is keeping them awake the whole night. Obviously, we appreciate the brain chemicals going wild, but also there are other things like the triggers, like maybe trauma from early life experiences, family, environment, and so many other things. Like I told you, life itself is a stressor. We need to get support for everyday life activities. So for someone with bipolar, those everyday life activities make it worse. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. The other question is asked here is, how do you handle not managing to keep a job, even past a week, because of how stringent or unfair some workplaces have become?
Sometimes we like looking back at the individual. So there are people, and I'm not responding to this particular question, there are people who have serial job exits. They wake up, they do a job for 6 months, they exit. They wake up, they do 1 year, they exit. And when I catch up with them, or any other counselor catches up with them, the story could be the boss, the job, the everything. But what we like doing is lighting the torch backwards. Let me stay with you. What is it that makes you not stay in a job? Because you realize jobs situations are almost similar. If jobs are stressful, they'll be stressful here, they'll be stressful in Mombasa, they'll be stressful in Dubai, they'll be stressful anywhere, because that's how corporates and jobs operate. So what is your resilience as a person? How can we boost it? Because it's not every job that is bad, it's not every person you meet along the way. We like saying, who is the common denominator in this conversation? It's Anne. Anne, I would want you to tell me more about who you are as a person. What is your self-awareness? What are your values? Because sometimes you quit jobs because it challenges our value systems, our biases. So we are able to look at them and reflect backwards and see, what is it that I do that makes me want to keep quitting jobs? Not downplaying that you could have bosses who are not kind, but you don't have to quit every job that the boss is not kind. Why can't the boss quit because of you? Because you've decided to stay. I think that's a point I would want us all to reflect about. Thank you, Eva.
Thank you, Anne. We've come to the end of the 15 minutes allowed. We still have many questions. We'll be able to respond to the questions and send the answers to Irene, and she can be able to circulate. So from LVCT Health, we are very appreciative of availing yourself. I know from your busy schedules that you purposed and created time to take care of yourself, to take care of others, to get a little bit more to what you already know, because we say learning takes place every day. So from our desk here, we wish you all the very best. We have workplace solutions, including mental health services available. We do what we are calling some of the things that you spoke to about. You do not have to screen and be the one to diagnose your stuff. We are able to actually come to your place and do an assessment, a very confidential on mental health. And we will also be able to support you to design mental health packages for your staff. So at this point, we are open. You can get hold of us through the numbers that we've posted there, LVCT Health. Even through our website, you're able to see the work that we do. And we are very passionate to be able to support workplace wellness programs, because employees rarely get time to go and seek health services, leave alone mental health services. We offer also virtual mental health services. So your staff do not have to come physically for counseling or for therapy. We are able actually to deliver the services to your workplace or at the comfort of their homes, at the comfort of their offices, and we are able to support them to be as productive as they can. As Anne has spoken to us, we all experience stressors every day. And we need, at times it goes and beyond what we are able to cope with. So we are encouraging you, and we keep on telling people it is okay not to be okay. but you cannot not be okay for a month, for 2 months, and still expect to be functional. Seek support when you require to. Talk to a friend, talk to a pastor, talk to whoever that is close within your link, because the suicide cases are very alarming. We have dysfunctional families, dysfunctional workplaces where everyone is looking for the exit to the next place. And once they land in the next place, they are also looking for an exit to I don't know where else. So we wish you a very good evening. Thank you to Irene and the team for organizing. I hand it over back to Irene, and we are very pleased. Apologies for the technicalities as we started, but we get better with the technology as we move along. Thank you, and over to you, Irene.
Thank you so much, Eva. I think I've gotten accustomed to calling you that. And thank you so much, Anne and Rahab. I think from the comments, we can see the participants have appreciated your delivery. They have enjoyed the insights that you have shared, and they have learned, and hopefully we can all apply what we have learned in our personal lives as well as in our places of work. Thank you, Eva, for summarizing what it is that you do. We hope that the participants can reach out. We will share the slides as well as the recording. I can see we even have participants who are not HR professionals. There was a CPA, Joseph, who joined in. Thank you so much for participating. And I'm sure we have others who are not members of IHRM. We will share these to your contact details. You can still share them on this platform as well as the recording. And we look forward to partnering with LVCT to offer such learning opportunities to our members and also to our communities, because by extension, this affects very many people in our society. So at this point, we wish you a lovely evening. Thank you for taking the time to participate and to respond to the questions and to ask the questions. And we look forward to another session where we can all have this conversation on mental health and well-being. So from our end, thank you and have a lovely evening.
Thank you for having us.
All right, thank you.
Thank you and lovely evening.
You too, thank you.
Thank you, Irene.
Thank you so much.